Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rust Belt Football Show. I am your host, Bryce, the Bears fan, and I'm here with a very special friend of mine. My good friend, Sam, the Jags fan, is here to talk about the Jags season, and honestly, a season that I think mirrors the Bears season in a lot of ways, so I'm really excited to get into this conversation. Sam, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, good, Bryce. Good to be back talking with you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been too long. I'm super stoked. So, what we like to do before we really dive into everything is just walk me through like how you became a Jags fan, just your relationship with the Jags as a team throughout the course of your life.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. So kind of how it started, I basically I was adopted when I was born. Met my birth family when I was out of high school. When I met them, they were in Jacksonville. So my birth mom liked them, and so honestly, they were all Bears fans like you, and I was
Very
already a
cultured.
Packers fan. So I was like, you know what? I want to like something to honor my biological family. So my birth mom, who had cancer at the time, was a huge Jags fan. So honestly, I liked them in her honor. She was a diehard Jags fan till the day she died, and I've been a fan since the Jags since '07. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I like to joke about like when we're talking about the Bears a little while ago. I said the only reason that anyone should love a team like the Bears or the Jags or the Lions or any of these teams is if you're born into it to some degree. So
yeah,
I 100% get that. So as we dive into how like the story of this Jag season, we like to start off with the preseason, like the free agency and the draft and the
sure.
big additions and the just the most notable pieces. What do you have about that?
Yeah, so they made a couple moves. Obviously, every team has some that work and some that don't work.
Yep.
They spent a lot on. They got a couple corners and a couple linebackers in free agency. They got a guy at corner from Dallas that it worked out pretty well. But a couple Lewis, he worked out pretty well.
Yep.
There were a couple moves. Obviously, they traded some draft picks for Hunter, which I mean, he got a lot of media attention for good and bad. I mean, they gave up first round pick for this year, so obviously got hurt. Free agency though, they prioritize. They spent a little bit on defense, and then they also spent a little bit receiver. They also did a few trades right when the season started. They swapped a corner for another corner, which that trade
that was an interesting trade. I found that very
weird.
interesting.
Yeah,
That never happens.
no, it was Campbell pretty much straight up for Newsom
Right.
on the Browns, and it's hard to gauge that trade. It's hard to rank. And
Because
now he's a free agent. It's like, okay, both of them are free agents, so
it seems like there was that trade, and I was like, okay, maybe they see something scheme wise. But then it looked like they both played just as well.
Yeah,
on opposite teams.
yeah.
Which
I think the Jaguars.
I just had a hard time puzzling that out.
They were trying to get like Liam Cohen guys also this offseason, that since they're trying to change their philosophy, and Gladstone has kind of the Rams philosophy, so they kind of get some guys that had some high upside or guys coming off ACL injuries. They added linebacker Gardeck. He came from, I think he was on the Cardinals for a while, but they added a few guys that ended up panning out. And they added a couple of receivers. They added Kobe Myers later in the season too. That trade actually was a benefit
Huge
for them
trade.
because
That
Thomas kind of disappeared at the beginning of the season.
Bad.
I think he was hurt, but they really needed, with Hunter's injury, that was the main reason, is they needed to fill in those reps.
So I do want to follow up on the Travis Hunter thing specifically, because that was a really interesting storyline coming out of the draft, because you had this thing where Travis Hunter was like, yeah, they haven't talked to me since the combine.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't even on his radar. Seemed to come out of nowhere for everybody. Then they had that thing where they kind of played him at both, but he was mostly receiver and sort of a corner. And then the thing that everyone was nervous about happened, and he gets hurt with a long-term injury, which that was another weird thing where it didn't seem long-term, and then all of a sudden it was long-term.
Yeah,
and
we thought it was week to week at first, and all of a sudden, surprise.
So how do you feel about that situation right now?
Yeah, and of course I was like, for the critics, are like, he's gonna get hurt, and of course he gets hurt in his first season. I'm like, gosh darn it. But what I do like, I'll say both sides of what I like and don't like. What I like about it is they're being gutsy. New GM, young GM, hotshot GM, he's being gutsy. Because Jaguars, let's be honest, we don't get a lot of fanfare, don't get a lot of media attention. So getting Hunter gives you a guy like that. So on that aspect, I see it. It can ticket sales, jersey sales. But however, giving up some draft capital for a guy that maybe it's a risk to play in both ways. I get that. And then now, of course, this year when he comes back, it's going to be opposite. He'll probably play more defense than offense this year, and that I'm fine with. I think they need to pick one, and then have him play part of it. And also you're a rookie. They should have worked on that maybe this year when it's a lot to learn two positions. Could he do it? Maybe. It's a little early. However, with that being said, I get why they did it. At the time, their offense wasn't very dynamic. We're coming off a 4-13 season where Thomas Jr. had a great season. Besides that, we lost Kirk to free agency, our tight end Ingram to free agency. So there was some room to someone to step up. So I can see why they made that splash. And at the time, they had C.J. Henderson at corner. So I can see why they made the splash. But it was perplexing, but also exciting. It was weird to explain. Like, we were excited too. Like, I have a Hunter jersey already. Like,
of course,
he's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the new coach helped, and the new GM helped that too. If it was the old regime, I'd been like, okay, what are we doing? So.
Right. Yeah, it's always interesting because he's a unicorn of a player, right? There's no denying that. And I remember a lot of people were saying, "Oh my goodness, he's the wide receiver 1 in this class." But then the Jags draft him, and I remember I texted my buddy. I said, "Okay, they announced wide receiver first at the podium. That means I don't know, like right?" And so there's this mystery surrounding it. He finally gets in. He's playing mostly as a receiver, but he was fine. But you really started to see that rawness that he had in his game early on in the year, or in his college career. Really, you started to see, oh, he can't just win with athleticism anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he's a great athlete, but he's not the Jamar Chase that can get away with a route that's not perfect. Right. He has to be more of a Justin Jefferson, more of a technician. And I think his movement skills will allow him to get there.
Yeah.
I'm just worried now that, because I think he's a better corner, that everyone that drafted him in Dynasty is going to be very, very sad because you invested probably a premium pick on him. And
that's a more likely corner.
Yeah. Yeah. And IDP people are ecstatic regardless. But that is just a very interesting thing that I wanted to poke at. Did you have any favorite, like, niche under the radar draft picks or signings?
Kind of. Not a lot of like crazy ones, but they really hit on. It was like a year or two ago. They hit on Van Landen, this guy that no one's ever heard of, because they had as Walker Little. They thought that was the year before, but they had Walker Little. He's been okay, but then they got this guy out of kind of nowhere. He kind of snuck up. But this year, I still don't know a lot of the guys in the draft class because the Jaguars didn't play all their rookies that much. They played some, but it's still a lot of question marks. But so far, it seems like good picks, but they're not like playing crazy snaps yet. But their defense as a whole, a lot of the picks contributed in their free agent signings. Their defense was third in pressures in the NFL. They had 222 pressures, so that was encouraging. What was a weird thing, and one thing I want to talk about, is they have the names. They have a couple guys on defense, Hines Allen and Walker, that are names. They get sacks. But other than that, Armstead, I thought he was going to – this is his second year in Jacksonville. He's fine, but he wasn't getting the pressure like he did in San Fran. So one weird thing is they were like 27th in sacks, but third in pressures.
That is interesting.
You could argue,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, pressures are good, and they're probably even better because sacks can be kind of skewed. Sacks are good, but pressures can lead to incomplete passes too. So it's how do you read that? But I think they need to work on pass rush. That was one of their weaknesses, even though they had a good defense.
Yeah, and like Devin Lloyd was phenomenal. And it worries me a little bit for the sake of Jags fans everywhere, because it just screams like, I don't know, the Patrick Queen that last year that he had in Baltimore, where he has that one awesome flash year, and you kind of have to pay him based on that.
Yep, and I agree with you. I think it's a contract year. I hate that happens, but he seems like a contract year player because he showed flashes in year 2, 3, 4. His first year, he barely was on the field, or when he was, it was not good. But yeah, I don't think they should re-sign him, by the way. Let another team pay him. Yep. There hasn't been enough consistency in those 4 years, 5 years to merit re-signing him right now, or at least at that dollar amount.
It's just it's tough, right? Because the Bills kind of had a similar thing with Tremaine Edmonds, where he had a great. I think he was probably better over the course of his entire rookie contract than Devin Lloyd has been, but he popped in the Bill sets too rich for our blood, and I'm just very interested to see how that goes with a guy like Devin Lloyd, because like I said, this defense was really good, and there's a reason that your defensive coordinator was getting, and we texted back and forth about this quite a bit.
Yeah,
he's getting some serious head coaching looks.
I'm stoked that he didn't get hired out one more year.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole cycle was super weird, and there's a bunch of stuff
strange
going on. So yeah, I found that very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what year 2 in both of these systems, offensive and defensive, looks. Yeah. Because you probably only have one more year with that defensive system.
Yeah, so it'd be good to learn it this year, because it's a complex system. It took Lawrence probably till week 8 or 9 to really feel comfortable in the system. There's a lot you have to learn in Liam Cohen's style of offense.
And Brian Thomas Jr., I have never been a huge fan of his. I thought he was really good last year, of course. I mean, objectively, he just was. The thing that scared me was that he was best as Mac Jones's favorite target. Yeah. And he didn't really hit his stride like we remember him hitting his stride until Trevor Lawrence, unfortunately, goes down with an injury. And so do you think that factors into their decision-making as a team, or how you look at him as a player?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because it's true. He kind of really took off when Lawrence was out. There's flashes, though, and it's only his second year. I think there was a lot of injuries that factored into this season. Last season, he had some great plays, but you're right. Different quarterbacks have different – for some reason, Thomas Jr. and Mac Jones had more of a – they were also playing behind in a lot of games last year, so that's part of it. Yeah. However, when they added Jacoby Myers to the team this year, it kind of made – whether Thomas Jr. was hurt, I think he had been hurt this year a little bit. He missed like 4 or 5 games middle of the season. So I think that was a factor. But it was weird. Jacoby Myers stepped right in, and it's like Lawrence had played with him for 3 years because they played really well. Right. So the chemistry thing is weird. I see he's in trade rumors, but I really don't think Jacksonville should trade him right now. It's his year 3. I would give the guy another year. You can't. But yeah, I thought he was one of the best wide receivers of the draft class originally after the first year. But then I'm like, okay, well maybe – Neighbors and other guys were better guys, but they're both very similar originally. So,
yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out, because obviously the number one and most obvious match that you could make is Buffalo taking a swing on them. But now they were just traded DJ over to Buffalo, so that's probably out of the picture. The Patriots are a team that come to mind. Yep. And do the Patriots see enough that they're willing to give Jacksonville an offer they can't pass up? Obviously, this regime inherited him, right? They didn't draft him.
Correct.
So that factors in as well.
That is a factor, yeah.
If they get a chance to just re-roll, like if they get offered a first-round pick and they just get a chance to re-roll and take another receiver that they would prefer,
they might do that, yeah.
You probably do it. If you get a second, I don't think you do it. I think someone has to be willing to give up that first, especially because he is on his rookie deal with a 5th-year option that you could take if you wanted. So, yeah, I wanted to ask that, because that's always very interesting to me when you have a player that's so divisive, because he had the yips, right? Like,
yeah, he did.
Injury or not, he definitely had the yips, and it worries you a little bit because you need to see it not happen again.
Right, because he was having drops, like it would be right in his hands, and the defenders come right up. It makes you wonder. Yeah, there's been some other teams linked to him too, but I hope they go one more year. But hey, if they get an offer, I mean, maybe there's a team like the Steelers that made the playoffs that want to get another receiver. There's been linked to a couple teams. It's just hard to say what they're going to do. But you're right, you have to play that factor when new GMs take over. A lot of times they want their own guys at a lot of positions. So
I mean, we saw it with, like I said, I think there's a lot of similarities between the Jags and the Bears this year, and just their turnaround with the new offensive coach and all this stuff. And I think part of that is that both of these guys came in and said, I want my guys. And they had GMs that were willing to go and get those guys. Right. And that was a really big part of both of their success. I texted you this a couple months ago. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens when Liam Cohen gets to do what Ben Johnson already did, which is build his own offensive line the way that he wants it.
Right.
The Jags offensive line was good,
Right.
I
It was
wouldn't say that
better
it
than
was
the year
great,
before.
but it's good.
But
And that was a huge step forwards for them.
yeah, because earlier in the season when they were still learning their schemes, Lawrence was running for his life in a couple games. We had a rough stretch there. And I know Tony Baselli, our only Hall of Famer, he's the assistant to the GM, or he's like the assistant vice president or something like that. But anyway, he's going to have an active role on the line because he's been involved in the Jaguars since he retired. So it's nice to have him in their corner too, kind of he helped with some of the moves this last season. So it'd be nice to put another year of learning and draft picks and free agency. I agree. They need to, because the line's so important. I don't know why teams don't focus on that, but I don't think there's as much depth overall as years ago.
Absolutely.
There's not as much backup depth. So
another one, maybe class right now, it's bad.
Yeah, it's just
it's bad.
It's weak. It's weak compared to years ago. But I don't know if it's on your list, but ETN's another one. Do you have him on your top pick list?
I do. I was just about to ask you about him actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, career year for him, right? And came in with Trevor Lawrence. Drafted him kind of as that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase kind of mold, where you're getting the guy's best weapon to pair with them
at Clemson together. Yeah.
Yep. Didn't quite go the way that you wanted it to. We'll get to Trevor Lawrence in a second because we have to talk about him as well, of course.
Yep.
But how did it feel to see ETN have this year in this system, knowing that he was a free agent?
Yeah, that was the hardest thing because finally this is the year they envisioned. So if you guys don't remember, he missed his whole first rookie year of the NFL. He tore his ACL, I think it was, right? Tore his ACL. He missed the whole first season of his career. So then his second year, he showed flashes, but this is the first year with Cohen where he unlocked. He played like White did with the Buccaneers.
Right.
He played that kind of role. However, I like that him and Lawrence have that chemistry, which is cool. It's a cool story. However, NFL running backs, free agent running backs, they command a certain dollar amount where I've been a lot thinking about it. I don't know that the Jaguars should go. They didn't tag him, which is interesting, or transition tag him, which I didn't think they wanted to pay him 12 to 10 million or something. That's a lot. They don't have the money to do that. They also drafted Tootin, and they had Tank Bigsby. That was another guy they traded. Right.
That was another trade that made no sense to me. That makes no sense.
No.
If I was Tank Bigsby, I would be livid.
Because they could have rolled with Bigsby and Tootin this next season.
Absolutely.
And it would have been okay. Now, here's what I think. If he really wants the money, he can go take that. However, it'd be cool if players don't do this. It'd be cool if Trevor's like, hey, here's $5 million plus you take a $5 million deal. Great. But I wish that's how that worked. But usually it doesn't. You would think he'd want to. They're buddies. So. But if not, you can get a cheaper veteran, bring Tootin as the starter, draft a guy, and get a free agent. There's free agent guys. Even White's a free agent with the Buccaneers, actually, that could go after him, a guy that's in Cohen's system. So I wouldn't re-sign him either, honestly. I'm not a big fan of playing most running backs unless you're Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, their second or third contracts on average. Some guys, yeah, but usually they're not worth it.
I think it's going to be interesting because I think our definition of what paying a running back looks like is going to change a lot very quickly. Because of the cyclical nature of the NFL, where we're going back to a running first league in a lot of ways. That's why the Ben Johnsons, the Liam Cohens are the guys, and they're making the big bucks because they're able to orchestrate these incredible running games and these run schemes. And so to be able to, like, Tyler Algier has been a backup in Atlanta for 3 years.
A long time, yeah.
He's going to get money. And he's going to get good money. And I think he'll be worth every penny. Kenneth Walker is obviously a polarizing player for a lot of reasons. He's my guy. Like that's my dude.
He's awesome.
Super Bowl MVP, absolute stud. I would be ecstatic to see him in a system that actually features him the way that he could be featured. I know that he has some durability concerns and he has some vision issues. He can't pass protect very well, but I would love to see him like in a Chiefs system where they know how to use him and that he's able to be the 1A and they're also able to get the best out of him. I don't think it's just a one or the other thing. So I could see 12 to 13 million being like the baseline for second contracts.
Yeah.
Very soon. Receivers are getting 30. Like Alec Pierce, I think, is going to get like 30 million a year, which is
insane.
Crazy. I love Alec Pierce, but that's crazy talk. It's absolute crazy talk. So, I think it's gonna be very interesting. Do you have any names that you're kind of watching out for, other than you mentioned Rashad White?
Yeah, you're not a ton offhand because I don't think they have a lot of cap room really, but I think there's a couple names. Let's see if I wrote it down. Um, there's just a couple guys. I think they should just go after another corner. I didn't have the list with me, but they should go after not one of the top ones, but like a third corner. They should get another guy in there because Hunter, he's going to play a lot there, but it'd be nice to have another depth guy at corner. And obviously, I would take a flyer on another guard for the Jags. But every team can make cap room if they want to. Let's be honest, they could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe pick up another tight end for depth. Strange is great. He's a great young starter, but you can't have enough weapons. So
right. So we teased this a little bit. Trevor Lawrence had a really good year, but also, especially through the first 2/3 of the year, it really looked like the most Trevor Lawrence year of all time, right? Where it's wonderfully infuriating, I guess is the way that I would put it. Where you're watching him, and 1 minute you're like, oh my goodness, that's the guy. That's the guy we drafted #1 overall. That's the guy we're paying $55 million a year. And then he has the Texans game.
Yeah.
But he also has the Chiefs game.
And the Broncos game.
And the Broncos game. He has so many incredible games, but then he has so many times where it's like, oh no. So overall, you've had a little bit of time to sit with it, the season in its entirety. How do you feel about Trevor Lawrence going forward?
This year's bring new confidence. I was almost at the point. I've been one of the biggest supporters of him for 5 years now.
Absolutely.
But I was almost getting to the point. I'm like, if this season, if he doesn't figure it out, even though they're gonna have to eat money, it was gonna be time to cut bait. And even the first couple of games, I was like, okay, we've been hearing, yeah, everyone can say that, but really, he started buying into Cohen's program. You can tell. He also started using his legs, which he's kind of forgotten about. He did it some, but if you look, he had at least 8 touchdowns rushing. He really picked it up. There were some games, multiple touchdowns. He started using his frame. I think Liam told him, I'm sure he told him, dude, you're 6'5". Why don't you start playing like you're 6'5"? You don't have to be Josh Allen, but you could be in that mold because they're similar. They're similar build, and he has the arm. He can make the throws.
Absolutely.
However, the interception thing was a concern. Occasionally, there's okay, where were you going with that? He got better at it as the year went on. In fact, the pick and the interception, it was just a tip pick at the end of the game. Josh Allen drove down the field. But before that, Lawrence drove the team right down the field. So there was I have ever since hope of optimism. I would give him I think he's a franchise guy. He's not top 10 right now. Is the potential there? It's there. But at least he's not in the bottom 10 right now. I think he's more like 15. So at least his contract's more palatable after this season. But I'm excited. I want to see more next year, though, by all means.
Does the Trevor Lawrence experience, does that change your perspective on how teams should handle quarterback contracts? Because it did for me this year, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think teams are too quick to pay the going rate. However, the NFL has kind of created this problem for all teams. If you don't have – there's always going to be 5 or 10 teams that don't have the guy, at least 5. There's always 5 teams that don't. But you have to be sure. So the system has forced you to almost pay them early in case where they might project to.
Right.
So now, but also the contracts are getting out of hand. The average quarterback makes 55 to 60. Where are we drawing the line? Is it just going to keep going up with the cap? I don't know. Eventually, I don't know how to solve it, but it's just created a problem where if you're not sure, you might as well just pay them, because if you're wrong, now that hits you both ways though.
Right.
If you're right, then okay, you have your guy. You don't have to keep looking, or you have a guy that's capable. However, you can be wrong. Let's say he didn't take that step this year. Well, then we're looking at a different conversation where
you're looking at the Tua
$55 million, and then you have 3 or 4 years left where you have to eat that, and then it becomes like a bigger version of like a Russell Wilson contract or the Tua situation. Look at the Dolphins; they were wrong. He's not the guy. Maybe concussions are the reason, but even besides that, he was making bad reads. You can end up like the Dolphins, where you're going to eat $100 million next year.
So, if Trevor Lawrence flatlines between this year and next year, if next year is just as good as this year, maybe a little bit up, maybe a little bit down over the course of the year, but it levels out to about the same, would you still feel optimistic? Would you still be fine with that price tag, or would you be starting to think maybe we should move?
If it's the same as last year, we're fine because he was fifth in MVP voting. I'll take fifth in MVP voting in a year, honestly. If he stays like last year, if it's like 2 years ago, then I would start worrying about it's time to draft a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sign a veteran to push him. But you shouldn't have to push a quarterback getting paid $55 million. But.
Right. Like, just looking around the league right now, the quarterback situation is just bizarre. Malik Willis is going to get paid a ton of money, while Kyler Murray, who was getting paid $50 million, is getting cut and is going to play on the minimum. And like all this, like Joe Flacco is going to get paid decent money to go somewhere and be a spot starter. Like it is so bizarre, and it just shows how desperate teams get when, like you said, they don't have the guy.
Well, yeah, look, Rodgers is still getting the life squeezed out of him. He was okay at times, but he's 42, and he's still better than he's still in the top 32 quarterbacks, and that tells you there's not other guys. That's how desperate teams are. They're hoping to squeeze any life out of old heroes, or even the fact that Derek Carr's name's getting mentioned around. It's like, okay, well, it wasn't that great in New Orleans the last couple of years, but and then Geno Smith, why? Yeah, he's also a free agent too.
The only reason that I will palate the Geno Smith conversation is that if he goes to Minnesota, he will 100% light it up. He will absolutely light it up, and it'll suck for everyone that's in the NFC North. But
it's a strange game. You either get a rookie every couple of years, or you pay a guy and hope he's your guy.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's a great example.
He's what you're banking on at this point, right? And the Seahawks did it, and they cashed in huge. And
which is, you brought up Willis. That's what a team's almost going to have to do. Yep. They're almost going to have to hope a way smaller sample size. However, some team's going to probably do it. However, I'm hoping it's like a 2 or 3 year deal for any team because, like, you don't know.
Right.
You just have to hope. It's just strange. It's going to be a fascinating offseason here for teams.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because, like, in the AFC South even, we have Daniel Jones.
Yep.
Who
comes off this big injury. He's in I call it the Kevin O'Connell, the KOC car wash for a year or half a year, really. Goes to the Colts. The whole thing is, he's, like you said, signing the guy to push the guy, right? Like, he's there to push Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson fractures his eye socket because he's using a resistance band in the locker room. Right. And Daniel Jones ends up starting, and he looks really good. The Colts decide that he's the best quarterback they've ever seen, so they go all in, make all the trades. All of a sudden, Daniel Jones breaks his leg. And so, okay, he's breaking his leg, and he's still playing on it, which was insane. Against us, we were the team that they played against.
I forgot about that. Yeah, like that.
What are you doing?
And he wasn't awful.
No, but he couldn't move, and that's part of his
game. He could
not
move at all, and that was a big part of his game, and it really affected him. But he earned a lot of respect from me
to go out
in that whole thing, to just say no, like, the team is banking on me, they've bet on me, I'm gonna go do it. And then of course he tears his Achilles right after that. I think it's probably, I'm not a doctor, I don't really know, but if I was to guess, I would say it's because he was favoring the opposite leg.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And that was a lot
he was
more
taking
strain.
snaps and
Yep. And so that was tough. But being in the AFC South, which was the laughingstock of the AFC for a long time, all of a sudden is
one of the better divisions in football,
shaping into almost a powerhouse, except for the Titans. But they've got a promising future, the Titans. But
I was so happy when they got rid of Vrabel. Yeah, get rid of a great coach. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So you've gone from that to this now. Have you noticed a definitive change in how people approach the Jags because they are neck and neck for the best team in that division?
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's kind of weird because I've only had a few seasons like that. I thought Doug Peterson, to be fair, a couple of years ago, I thought he was going to be the guy to do this.
Me too.
Apparently his magic just kind of ran out. He wasn't bad. I get why they hired him. But just something different about Cohen. It's exciting. This guy's like under 40, right? Isn't he like 38 or something like that? It's just
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and Gladstone's really young.
He looks like a baby. He looks like he's 12. It's crazy.
He does look like he's 12. He's a genius because he came from the Rams system.
Right.
But they do things very different. It's refreshing because it's different enough that, like, even their combine, They don't necessarily do the combine the same way. They operate kind of how McVay does it. Now, a lot of teams do the McVay, but it sounds like Gladstone actually does the McVay way.
Right.
And he and Cohen were there together, so they have that cohesiveness. What's different, though, is just it's refreshing to have just some names. Number one, refreshing having Lawrence play like he should. And then, ETN had a great season. Getting Hunter, even though he got hurt, it was exciting for the franchise. Hines Allen has lived up to his contract extension. Even Walker, who, should have been the number one overall pick, probably not. But at least he's went from being a complete bust to being a contributor and not a complete waste of a first-round pick. So there's some optimism. It's nice. It's weird because I don't want it to be a flash in the pan. That's why we need to have another good year to solidify it. But it was reassuring. I have friends that like a team in each division. But I have friends that are Texans fans. It's just weird. Like they showed flashes too. And then times it's like, okay, CJ Stroud is kind of in the Lawrence category. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he throws 5 picks in a playoff game like this last season. So it's interesting. Will Daniel Jones bounce back? There's a lot of factors. But I like the Jags. It looks good for next year. Getting a new stadium here in 3 years here. So that would be nice. Working on it right now. So
do the Texans scare you? Basically, I guess is my question, because they were nipping at your heels for the division down the stretch of the season.
Their defense does. Their offense doesn't scare me. However, they're making some moves. They got Montgomery from the Lions.
I love that trade. I loved that trade for them.
It was a good trade. But then their line was really bad, so they made a few line moves. So it'll be interesting if that helps them. But they don't necessarily scare me because it seems like we split last year, so not as much as like. But if you had to pick a team in the division, they'd be the biggest threat, I would think. I don't know that the Colts start off at that run like they did last season. I feel like they were getting some good breaks, and Taylor had a great season, but that's not going to be every season. So Titans aren't quite there yet. But they scare me enough. Their defense is pretty elite. I would say, they're top 5 or one of the top defenses?
I think they're top 2. The top Texans, 2. I think they're top 2. Yeah. I think it was them in Seattle this year for me.
Yep.
Just
so
anytime you have those two guys off the edge, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson.
Oh my gosh, you have to respect them for sure, and I know the Jags do.
And if they didn't before, they did after that. What was it? The 5-sack game that they had against Trevor Lawrence, like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't game plan for them. Is the problem?
No,
right? Like
I don't like their linebacker though because he's dirty. But
so I think I've had to reclassify what I call dirty. Like Vontae's perfect, I called dirty because he was objectively.
Yeah, he's not to that level, but I just don't like him.
You're not gonna like this. I think Keyshawn Nixon is in that category. One of the dirtiest plays I've ever seen. Yeah. I like the cheap shots he took on DJ. Yeah, absolutely. In the last couple of years. Yeah, that's getting out there. Seeing some cheap shots he took were why I didn't have a problem with Luther Burden kind of putting him in his place a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. No, he deserved it. It's fair.
But yeah, in general, I think those guys, like the Draymond Greens of the world, fascinate me. Especially as someone like I like the Texans. I wouldn't call myself a big Texans fan by any means, but they're kind of my AFC team.
Right.
And so I get to kind of watch from a distance and see like Texans fans love the guy. They love him so much because you always love that guy. Like Warriors fans love Draymond Green back in the day. Because of course you do. Everyone else hates him, and it's just really funny to see.
It's kind of fun when he's on your side. Yeah,
absolutely. So the season. I mean, I was really hoping that we could get Alex in here, but I don't think he's gonna be able to make it because of the way that the season ended. But just moving into that for the last couple questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the pick was unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Like it literally happened to Josh Allen. In the very next game. What were your expectations going into the year? And based on those expectations, was the season a success? I think I know the answer, but I just want to give you a chance to explain about it a little bit.
My expectation, honestly, was in Liam's first year, 500 or a game or two over 500 was a great season. There's pros and cons. The opposite this year, we're at 13-4. This last season. I don't expect that every year. In fact, it's probably going to be like 12-6 next year or something like that. So going into the year, I just wanted improvement. I wanted them to clean it up a little bit, and I wanted Lawrence to look like a franchise quarterback. And so that was my goal going into the year. Coming out of it, I feel okay. The playoff loss, it stung, but it was different than other playoff losses of the Jaguars. This one's like, okay, this is just the beginning potentially. Like, we're not old. We're a young team. There's some hope. It just felt different. It felt like untapped potential still.
So I have to ask the question.
Yeah.
2017 Jaguars. 2025 Jaguars. Which team was your favorite and why?
Great question. Fantastic question. I'd actually as right now, I'd probably go with the 2017 team. However, I don't think the coach was as good by any means. I don't think,
100%.
Gosh, what's his name? He was there 4 years. Anyway, he was more a defensive coach.
Was it Coughlin?
No, Coughlin was the president then. It was
right.
Doug Marone, right?
I think that's it.
I think so. Why don't I remember? Oh, we've had 4 coaches in the last 6 years. That's why I don't remember. But anyway, it was cool, but the defense was even better because you had Hans Allen as a young.
It was different.
Yeah, it was different. But you had the mayor, Calais Campbell, anchoring that defense. It was a very different.
Who's still awesome.
He's still good. Hall of Famer, first ballot, by the way. Calais Campbell, the first ballot Hall of Famer. He's amazing. It's cool they went back to Arizona to end his career, by the way. Did he retire officially, though?
I don't think so. I think he's still going strong, which
I wanted him back the last couple of years. He's been signing 1-year contracts with teams.
You got another chance.
Dude, I think he had 6 sacks or 5 this year, and he's 38 or 39, right? Crazy.
I think he might be 40.
But he was there. We had Miles Jack. We had the boat, Blake Bortles, who was a game manager. It was a different team. They were relying on the running game, and their defense is the reason they went as far. However, Miles Jack was still not down in that Patriots game, and I'm still bitter about it because they could have made a Super Bowl. So I don't know if we would have won, but we would have made it.
Blake Bortles that year was fun to watch, man.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Mac Jones kind of guy. Is kind of what Blake Bortles was.
I think he's, and I can say this because Alex isn't here because you don't know this. Alex is a huge Mac Jones guy.
Okay.
He's a huge.
We'll have to see if he agrees, but that's what I think.
He's drinking the Kyle Shanahan Kool-Aid.
Okay, that's fair. It's good Kool-Aid.
It's absolutely fair. But I think Blake Bortles does everything that Mac Jones does, just a little bit better.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think those guys are so much fun to watch because, one of my takes that I've really evolved into as I've grown as a football fan is I used to use the term game manager, system quarterback as an insult to quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's a downgrade on the player. Yeah.
I used to think that was the biggest gotcha when talking about Tom Brady is calling them a system quarterback or whatever. I've grown to realize being a system quarterback is not a bad thing. Not every quarterback can be the system, right? Josh Allen is the system. Patrick Mahomes is the system. Lamar Jackson is the system. Joe Burrow is not the system.
No.
That does not mean that Joe Burrow is a bad quarterback. Joe Burrow is a system quarterback. Of course, he enhances the system.
Right.
But you can't just build the system out of Joe Burrow because of the way that he plays the game. Tom Brady is one of the 3 best players of all time, no matter how you dice it, no matter who you talk to.
And he was a system quarterback.
Right. He was objectively a system quarterback. And so seeing guys like Blake Bortles succeed, and that year, I thought it was destined.
I know. It was great.
It really felt like it was just bound to happen. And it honestly kind of felt like when I was watching the Bears game against the Rams this year, where it just felt like it was just destined to happen, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that you would take that team because Miles Jack is another player that I love.
Another name that comes to mind, like Eli Manning, kind of he had some years where he was dominant, but honestly, more a system quarterback, smart, and did what he needed to do. And the defense helped him a lot, and the offense did too.
Yeah. If you had to guess, what do you think the playoff picture for the AFC will look like? Because this year it was super out of whack.
Yeah, no, I should write some names down. Let's see.
Right?
Well,
I'll talk a little bit just while you give
yeah.
me a second to think there. This year was obviously super out of whack. You didn't really have any of the guys other than Josh Allen that were in there, and Bo Nix, who isn't one of the guys, ended up getting hurt as well. I think Drake May is getting to the point where he might be becoming one of the guys, but you didn't have that. So of course next year is going to look very different no matter how you dice it, because so much stuff was so weird. And the way that the season ended, people are going to use this year as a the black mark on Mahomes' legacy, I think. And that, to me, that will always be disingenuous. Like I've already heard people using the argument that, Tom Brady never missed the playoffs after whatever year. It's like, okay, Tom Brady never had a team as bad as the Chiefs were this year. The Chiefs just were not a good football team.
No, they could easily be back in it next year.
Absolutely. If Mahomes comes back and he's able to get healthy in time, and whoever they bring in, I would not be shocked if they brought in like an Anthony Richardson.
No, just a young
just
guy.
Let him start a couple games.
They actually still have Minshew too. So,
but he also tore his ACL.
No, they found out it wasn't. It was just like a 4-week injury. Yeah, check that out. So we'll be fine. Yeah.
That kind of stuff always boggles my mind that we're at this point, and that could suck.
I know. I felt so bad because originally it was like back-to-back games of ACLs originally, but apparently it wasn't quite ACL. It was just swollen, and they thought it was. So I was happy. As a former huge Minshew supporter, I have 2 of his jerseys. I love him. However, I know he's a game manager, like Foreman's Bortles kind of guy.
He's just
fun. I love his moxie. I love it.
Absolutely. Like those kind of guys will always have a role in the NFL because they're just fun.
He'll be a career backup. My quick thoughts on playoff teams. Now, is it 7 teams that make it or 6? I forgot already. 7. So I quick wrote down. I have to think of my 7th team, but just quick without really thinking about it. I assume the Patriots will be back. Bills will be back in their new stadium. I think my Jags will. I think the Texans will. So that's 4. You would think the Bengals would be back in the dance, right? You would think so.
I hope so. For the sake
For
the sake of people in Cincinnati, I really hope so.
And then the Chiefs, you would think they'd be back, and then probably the Broncos, right? I think that's your 7 teams, at least projected could be. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to make it. Usually there's a team that is crap and makes it every year.
We need an AFC North team.
Oh, we need a North. That's right. We have to have a North
AFC
team.
North team.
Man, so we can't necessarily do that. That means the team can't make it.
Wait, the Bengals. I'm an idiot.
Bengals. Yeah, you're good. I was like, wait, maybe Ravens?
So the Bengals win the division. So your division winners are the Patriots, the Bengals, I'm guessing the Jags, and you say the Chiefs or the Broncos?
I think Broncos would be the other team. So probably Broncos win it, but I think the Chiefs get in. I don't think
Chiefs and Texans get in, and then your last team is who?
Chiefs and Texans. So the last team would probably have to be actually the Bengals would probably have to be right because they can be the last team, right? They could probably be the 7th team.
The Bengals won the division, so Bengals, Jags.
Oh no, I can't.
Chiefs and
Broncos. I think
Bengals,
that's 7.
Chiefs, Patriots are the 4 that win the division. Then Texans.
Yep. Jags.
Well, we said Jags. Texans.
So Pats or Bills, one of them has to be a wild
Bills.
card.
Bills, that's the other one.
So let's just say the Bills are the wild card because they're used to doing that. They can be the
right.
They're fine doing that.
They'll be fine. How do you feel about the way that the Bills handled the
weird
change?
Like, is Brady their coach? Is he Joe Brady, right?
Yep.
Is he going to be any I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know that McDermott, right? He was a pretty good coach, but is Brady, he's younger, but is he more offensive guy? I don't know. It's strange that they went in-house. If they wanted a complete change of shift, do you really keep the guy that's been there for a little while? It's interesting to me. But also, I don't think they wanted to make Josh Allen pissed off. I think they wanted to keep something that he's happy with. And also, they didn't want a huge change going into a new stadium and a team that made the playoffs. It's weird. I was on the fence. You could have kept McDermott another year and no one would have really cared except I don't know what Bills fans think about it. It'd be fun to ask one of them. But I kind of question it. It seems like a lateral move to me. But
like, I mean, Alex has kind of come around. I think he's sniffing the hopium. but the messaging was super weird to me, where they put everything on McDermott. They said drafting
Yes.
Coleman, all the stuff that was all McDermott, and then the video started to come out of Brandon Bean, like
Oh, yeah,
celebrating
yeah.
drafting Keelan Coleman. It's like, oh, but he was McDermott's guy, the defensive head coach. Okay, that's interesting. And okay, so it's the coaching was the issue. All right, but we're just going to promote the offensive coordinator.
You're right.
And one of the finalists was Brian Dable,
who was already there before. Yeah,
who was the old, like, the whole thing just smells super weird to me. I did not have the Bills being unveiled as a dysfunctional franchise on my bingo card for this year.
No. Do you think, after thinking about it again, I just thought this. Do you think they were hoping to get one of the coaches that was available? Do you think they had a chance at like a Harbaugh or something like that? Why they fired him?
I would not go so far as to say that I think that was the reason that they fired him.
Yeah.
I think they genuinely thought that they needed to shake things up. And they were able to convince themselves that the defense was the issue, and that the amount of control that he had over the personnel was a problem.
That could be it.
I just don't really buy that being the issue, as someone that has never stepped foot in the Bills building, of course. But I just don't really see how that works. I'm really intrigued to watch how the Joe Brady led team works, because we've seen, how many times have we seen a guy that's and he's not even a great offensive coordinator. He's a good offensive coordinator, good play caller.
I think Allen makes him a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. He makes everybody look good, right? That's what he does.
It's weird that they kept the GM there, though, right? If they're frustrated,
and promoted him.
Yeah, they promoted him, and they had the whole Coleman thing. Like, I'm glad you brought up the Coleman thing. That was weird. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's like really, a soft reset. They were afraid of a full reset, I think.
Absolutely. And we're saying the same thing in Pittsburgh, right? Where I think a big part of it is that they didn't fire Tomlin and he stepped down.
Yep.
And so they did not plan on firing him and starting over, right? That wasn't in their
mind. He had the team until he didn't want it, it sounds like.
Right. And so my thought process is that they are stuck with the money that they have invested in their defense, especially because I think they have the most expensive defense ever. And it wasn't top 5.
Right. And they were banking on it. Yeah, because you're getting Ramsey, who's getting older.
Yep.
Hayward was really good this last year, but he's 38. TJ Watt is...
He's 32, and he's making $32 million against the cap.
And already starting to
maybe not against cap. He's making $32 million.
Yeah, Queen, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
interesting.
So pricey. And I think my guess, I haven't really looked super deep into the numbers or anything. I'm guessing that they said, all right, the team is built to win the division. Now, is that bar the lowest you could possibly get? Yes. But the team is built to win the division. We're going to win the division next year. We're going to get a home playoff game. Then in 2027, we'll be able to move off of some of this absurd money. And then we can fire Mike McCarthy. And then we can just blow it all up, get our quarterback finally for the first time in, 2.5 decades.
Yeah.
Since they drafted Big Ben. So
that's a good perspective. I think they'll give McCarthy more than a year, though, because, again, like a 5-year deal. I think they're hoping he can also magically train their next quarterback. But that's a maybe. And clearly, they went against their culture. They always hire a young, up-and-coming guy we've never heard of.
I really wanted them to go get Chris Shula from the Rams. I thought a Rooney hiring a Shula would have just been awesome. And he also fit that young defensive archetype. That's an interesting thought, though, because I remember seeing that McCarthy used his development of young quarterbacks as a selling point when he was talking to the Steelers and interviewing with them. Yeah. As someone that's followed the Packers relatively closely for a bunch of your life.
Yeah.
Is there any relevance to that? Because I heard that and I thought, what are you talking about?
No, I used to think now back in the Super Bowl 2010, 2011 run with the Packers. Yeah, I used to think, okay, he's a good mind, and he is. He can run some good plays. However, I if he was the developer we thought, then why hasn't there been backups with the Packers that have taken jobs? Okay,
Right.
Matt Flynn, but nah, not really. Kind of like a Malik Willis before Malik Willis, but we'll see. Malik Willis has more skills than Flynn does.
Right.
But anyway,
Absolutely.
I don't. McCarthy, he's a great human being, great person. However, is he really this quarterback genius? I don't think so. I can think of other guys that definitely are. He's okay. He has a good relationship with quarterbacks, yeah, but he might get a lot out of a player. But I think it was more Rodgers being good is why their offense was really good. It was more Rodgers than McCarthy.
Yeah,
But
because am I misremembering things? Because all of a sudden, Rodgers and McCarthy are acting like they've always been buddies. And I seem to remember a time when they were at each other's throats like every single game.
yes, yeah, Rodgers wouldn't run his offense the last year or two, it seemed like, and just do whatever he wanted. And then when they got LaFleur, Rodgers like, okay, I guess I'll buy into a new coach, a guy that's younger and different philosophies. And you're right. That's why I was like, okay, part of me could see Rodgers and McCarthy getting along, but also there's a reason why they let go of McCarthy in season, which is not
Right.
Packers like. They've never done that. And they got rid of him before the end of the season. And I'm like, I don't remember it being good when he left. But it's been 6 or 7 years, so maybe.
That's true.
But also, Rodgers is 42. He's going to do what he wants. If he wants to play another year, he will. I don't think McCarthy's going to change that. Not like it's a guarantee.
I was gonna phrase this question a certain way. I can't phrase it that way. For a reason that'll become obvious in a second. How exhausted are you with the Aaron Rodgers drama at this point?
It's weird because I do love him. He's awesome. It's entertaining. I like his in-season mode is entertaining. I like that. It's fine. His moxie. He yells at everyone. It's interesting. However, he's gotten a little more likable the last couple of years because I followed him his whole life. However, I don't like the off-season crap of he's been doing this for like 5 or 6 years.
So annoying.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to play. He wants to get the limelight all on him. Dude, just keep playing. Just say, hey, I'm going to be back. But he wants to drag it all out, and he says he's going to like disappear after he's done playing. Well, there's no way. Rodgers loves himself a lot.
There's no chance.
There's no chance. And I'm all for I love the stuff he says. It's entertaining. He's strange. The Enigma documentary on Netflix is fascinating, by the way. He's so strange. He's so smart. Like, dude, just go be an offensive coordinator somewhere and use your mind. But I don't think he'd be able to do that because people wouldn't run it how he wants. So
right. Yeah, I
strange.
am so sick and tired of him. Like and I've never actually heard someone say that they appreciate his antics. So I do find that very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I still don't know if he's actually married, by the way. We don't know if that person's real or not.
It would not. Okay, in the list of things that surprise me, Aaron Rodgers getting annoyed that people aren't talking about whether or not he's going to come back again, and deciding that the best way to do it is going to be to go out and pretend to get married. That would not surprise me in the slightest.
No.
Like, that would not be the craziest thing that he's done in the last 5 years.
No. It's always something to write about with him, that's for sure.
Let me know what you think about this. I think Aaron Rodgers is the Jerry Jones of players. Just in terms of how he runs his brand.
Yeah, it's so inconsistent.
He doesn't care what you're saying about him as long as you're talking about him.
Yeah,
at all
times. Can be good or bad. Yeah.
And if he ever feels like his name's starting to slip, he'll do something dumb. Like, he'll go on Pat McAfee and talk for 10 minutes about nothing. And
he does as a player,
be super
too.
cryptic.
Like,
and
he's washed up, and then he goes and has 2 MVPs back to back, and like, okay, why were you doing weird things the 2 years before that? I don't understand. So forcing it to Devontae Adams every play.
Right.
But it's strange. You're right. Maybe he is the Jerry Jones of quarterbacks. I don't know.
I don't know. I just thought of that, and I thought that was fascinating. All right.
That is fascinating.
I do have one last question for you. Alex usually asks this, but as he's not here, I am going to ask it for him.
All right.
Is there one player on the Jaguars that you feel like did not get the recognition that he deserved over the course of the season?
Ooh, great question. Didn't get the recognition he deserved. Strange. He missed 6, 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
When he's on the field, he performs. You don't get to hear a lot about him because he's in a young Jacksonville team, but he's pretty solid. I think he's great. And then the other guy, the Van Landen, the tight end they paid at the last week of the regular season, he's my other. If I can do a bonus one, him, because if you look, you might be like, at first, even me as a Jaguars fan, okay, why do we pay him? And then I look at his stats and I'm like, okay, he can play a couple positions. He can be your left tackle. Now you don't have to go draft one. And he's a developmental guy. They developed him into that. So those would be my sneaky bonus ones.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I've taken away from this year is you have to draft your tackles. You just have to. Like Rasheed Walker from the Packers is the only guy that's
he's okay.
He's gonna get top 3 money.
Okay, linemen make like $80 million now. It's crazy.
Like Dan Moore got paid like crazy, and Rasheed Walker's gonna get a better deal than that.
And then on right tackle, there's former Jaguar. Who's the guy that false starts for the Chiefs all the time?
Juwan Taylor.
Yeah,
he actually he got cut.
Top guy at right tackle.
He got cut. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Those guys are going to get paid bank, and their teams are going to get very nice comp picks for it, which is just going to be
that. By the way,
fascinating.
That's the good thing about Lloyd. If he signs Lloyd and ETN, you get comp picks for both those guys, and sometimes that's better than keeping them. Sometimes.
Okay, actually, I didn't talk about this when I did the Bears recap. I need an answer.
Yeah,
because I'm sure you're, like you said, you got family that are Bears fans.
Yeah,
Ian Cunningham getting hired by the Falcons. The NFL is trying to screw the Bears out of their comp picks. What is going on there? Do you think that is justified for the NFL to try and not give the Bears those 2 third-round picks on a technicality?
Yeah, that's kind of a strange. They haven't had a situation like that in a while. I think it is kind of strange. Like, no, I don't think. I need to ask them I should ask them what they think about it the next time I'm on. I'll let you know. But I agree with you that I can see why that's annoying, because you would think it. I don't know.
Because the whole reason is that they're saying, okay, Matt Ryan is the president of football operations, so he's technically above him. But then Matt Ryan goes in a press conference and says that Ian Cunningham is going to be the lead, is taking the lead in all roster construction. So
right, is it a lateral move or is it promotion? Right, they're making a promotion, right?
So the Falcons, of course, are going to claim that it's a lateral move because Matt Ryan's the president. But when Matt Ryan, who's the president, is saying that Ian Cunningham is responsible for building the roster, then it's a promotion. Like it is. He is not building. He's helping to build the roster. He's not building the roster himself. In Chicago.
Then what's Matt Ryan doing? Yeah,
the number one guy. Like Matt Ryan is going to be, I'm sure, helping negotiate contracts and doing all this stuff that the team president has to do. He's going to be helping scout whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just crazy to me.
It is crazy.
It's crazy to me. And especially because you're going to tell me that those 2 third-round picks wouldn't help the Bears line Max Crosby?
They would help him.
Like that would help. Like the second from DJ Moore trade and those 2 thirds, all of a sudden that starts to look like a real juicy add into that deal. But anyways, I just thought of that when we were talking about comp picks. So I had to
it's a good thought.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute blast. Always good to have you on. We'll absolutely have you on in the future. Everyone, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, turn on the notifications so you don't miss a video. We will see you in the next one. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.